people want to use a brand. They want to know. So you just mentioned you hired a Chuck in the truck. You weren't sure if they'd show up. That came from probably some experience you had in the past, where you've hired somebody and they didn't show up, or they didn't do good work. And I think we can all agree that we've had a bad experience with someone out there in home services that doesn't answer their phone, doesn't finish the job, changes the bill on you when they give you an estimate and increase the bill. Like, there's endless bad experiences, which is.
That is Scott Abbott. He is the CEO of 5-Star Franchising. Now, have you ever tried to get something fixed around your house and it just went perfectly? Probably not. You probably had some frustrations, to say the least, some shenanigans you had to deal with. And what Scott does, he solves those problems at scale with over 900 franchises. Now, you're listening to the CloseTheDeal.com podcast. This is a special episode of Your First Franchise, and we're talking with franchisors, entrepreneurs, and these folks know how to solve problems at scale. If you've ever considered having your own franchise to help solve those problems for other people, yourself, and do a great job doing it because you have a franchise, and you're considering your first franchise, check out yourfirstfranchise.com. Now, let's begin the show. Scott, I want to welcome you to the CloseTheDeal.com podcast, and this is a special episode of Your First Franchise. Where are you based, and welcome?
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about franchising. It's obviously one of my favorite topics. We're based in Springville, Utah, is where our head office is. We actually have 4 offices across the United States, but I'm here in the great state of Utah, just south of Salt Lake City.
Nice. So I've been to Salt Lake, and we have a regional event coming, by the way, in April, I think. IFPG coming to your city. Well,
wow.
Coming to Salt Lake. Yes.
Oh, we look forward to hosting you. That's great.
I'm excited about that. All right. If you're entertaining not the potential franchisees, but if you're working with a vendor that you might incorporate into your businesses across the businesses you work with, where would you take that person to do business or close the deal dinner in your hometown?
Yeah. So you probably have all heard of the great show of Sundance, the Sundance Film Festival. It's just up Provo Canyon. It's absolutely stunning, the view that you get up there in the mountains. And they've got some nice restaurants tucked away at the Sundance Ski Resort. Okay. Where amazing menu, amazing venue. And, I've gone there many times with potential hires, potential franchisees, potential partners, and it's always been great.
That sets the stage, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, this is my favorite question. I ask everybody this. Who, it's usually a who, but it could be a who or a what, are you grateful for from the past that's helped get you where you are to this day?
Yeah, I'll bet you, I'm curious to know how many people have said their father as a response to this question. I'm sure there's many of them, and I'll have to give my father great, kudos. The very, very first franchise experience I ever had was at McDonald's.
Oh, wow.
I was 15, 16 years old. And while working there, learning the ropes of flipping burgers and cooking fries, my father proposed this idea of starting a business together. And so I became an entrepreneur at age 16.
Oh, wow.
And I started my very first company in the business of distributing fishing tackle, of all things. Oh, cool. And I actually built that business to be a decent little company. We eventually represented over 8 different manufacturers, and I had stores across Canada I sold to into my early 20s. And I was really terrified, frankly, of the prospects of being in business for myself. I didn't know anything what I was doing. I didn't know how to sell. I had no formal training. I wasn't even through high school. And yet he gave me the opportunity to make mistakes, to experience things firsthand, and a lot of encouragement. And I just learned a lot about myself, frankly, in those 4 or 5 years of doing that with him. And it gave me enough confidence. By the end of that whole experience, I'd built something that kind of took care of my teenage desires, right? But you didn't sell the business when I just closed the business down when I was done. But all the learnings I had from that really came from his willingness to invest his time with me and giving me a little office space and a telephone to work from, a yellow page book to call my prospects at, and he, I literally did it all. Like I sold, I invoiced, I inventoried, I distributed, I delivered, and he really did help me and he just understand the possibilities of business ownership at a very young age.
What was it your dad did to see that, to encourage that? Because that's really unique.
My dad was an entrepreneur, and my grandfather was a piano tuner.
Oh, wow.
From World War II. He was a World War II vet. He served in Italy, actually. And I'm from Canada, so born and raised up there. So you think about that, right? From a piano tuner who was actually one of the better golfers in Manitoba. He won a few of the, he won the Manitoba Open at one point, I believe. So he's very, very good. He piano tuned because he wanted to have enough time to golf, and he lived right by a golf course. So he was, 3-4 days a week golfing, and then he would do his work. Did it his whole life. That was his entire career. So he was a business owner and an entrepreneur, but that was it.
Okay.
And I guess that gave my dad the view that was where he needed to be as well. And I come from a family of 7 kids. So I've got 6 siblings. I am the only entrepreneur of all 7 of us.
That's interesting.
Which is interesting. I don't know why that it went that way. I have a brother that's an actuary. I have a brother that's in IT. I've got 4 sisters. All of them are married to men who, one of them is a lawyer, and so he has his own law practice. But the other 3 are in home inspection and in working for other companies. All great people. All these people are great, but I don't know why. Frankly, my dad thought maybe he saw something in me. I don't know, but
he certainly saw something. That planted the seeds for where you are today. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, there's no question. There's there's absolutely no question that. In fact, in my career, I'm 49 years old now, so that means I've been an entrepreneur for about 33 years.
Yeah, you had a little advanced.
I started a little young.
Yeah, exactly.
In those 33 years, I only worked for someone else for a handful of years. I worked in an accounting firm and in like sponsorships and marketing, and for combined 3 years. And so my experience has really been almost all working for myself. And in those 3 years of working for the man or the woman or whatever you want to call it, were probably the 3 worst years of my life.
Wow. Yep.
I knew at a very young age that I couldn't work for someone else. I had to be in the pursuit of something that I really believed in, and I had to have a feeling like that ultimately what I was doing would have a big outcome, a big impact on the outcome. So.
Wow. And then this led you to where you are today. At what point did you start this business? And then you saw a problem in the marketplace, but did you work for franchises before at all, or?
No, the only experience I had with working with franchising was as a 15, 16-year-old flipping burgers at McDonald's. I have a co-founder who I've known since he was 12. And we were best friends.
Okay.
And he was running a small painting company and renovation company in Alberta, Canada. We're at a friend's wedding, and he was talking about trying to expand this business, and it had failed each time. Each time he went from this small town to another town, it just didn't work out. And it was because, as I viewed it, as we were talking at this wedding of a friend of ours, it lacked the ownership mentality, that skin of the game that's needed in franchising. And so I could very quickly see that if we could introduce that ownership mentality, introduce skin in the game into these different expansions, that we'd have a higher probability of success. And I knew the franchising model. My dad had worked for a concept called Koya Japan and sold franchises for them. And he exposed me to this idea, just in saying what he was doing. I didn't know exactly how it worked. But I thought that is how we'd have to do it. So I started doing lots of research. And as part of that research, I called about 1,000 painters in 6 months to find out first of all, how did painters find their customers? And when they found how did they interact with their customers, what did the customer experience look like?
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered it was horrible. I discovered that despite spending tens of thousands of dollars in advertising, only 2 out of 10 painters actually even answered their phones.
Mm-hmm.
So if the customer experience was that bad, I realized there was this massive opportunity.
Huge.
If I could master the customer experience and make sure the phone was always answered on behalf of my franchisees, that I would have a leg up on everybody, because we would be competing against people who didn't really value customer service or customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
And in home services, your storefront is that first phone call,
Mm-hmm.
that first time at the door in your uniform with a vehicle wrapped, and a vehicle that was wrapped with your marketing and stuff. And so the thesis proved true. We launched 5-Star Painting as our first concept in 2004, sold our first franchise in 2005. We quickly became one of the fastest growing companies in Utah, and grew across the US, Canada, Brazil, and Mexico.
Wow.
And eventually sold that business to another platform company called Neighborly. But the experience was critical and informed all my decisions moving forward from there to what we have built today at 5-Star Franchising, and where we own 6 different brands, all in home services. And we have a 7th brand that specializes in customer experience, which is all your inbound calls, outbound calls, texting, voice, chat, online scheduling, any way a customer wants to buy from a home service company, no matter what way they want to do it, ProNexus handles that for our brands.
So how long ago did you sell to Neighborly, and what was the gap between that and starting 5-Star? Did you define that? What you just described, was that defined during that period of time?
So 5-Star Franchising was always in existence from 2004. It was just the holding company of 5-Star Painting.
Okay.
And so we always had this vision that we would at some point add on other brands. It was always part of our dreams, I guess, as an organization.
Right.
And ProNexus, which specializes in customer experience, was the foundation of 5-Star Painting. And we built everything on that. And so when we sold 5-Star Painting, we kept ProNexus.
Okay.
And we had a bathroom brand that we had acquired in 2012 called 5-Star Bath Solutions. And so we kept that brand as well when we sold 5-Star Painting. So we still had our bathroom brand.
Right.
We still had our ProNexus customer experience solution. And then we got to start acquiring more companies under the 5-Star franchising platform. And we got really aggressive in 2021 and 2022. We bought 5 businesses in those 2 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. And so everything is the tech driven. During COVID, I really liked this space a lot, because during COVID, my driveway was right here. I need to replace that, like everybody else investing in their homes during COVID. I finally found one guy. He was a franchise person, and he did a great job. I have grass there because I couldn't find a concrete. I didn't need a driveway here, but I was just going to replace what was already there just out of habit. I put grass instead because I couldn't find a reputable concrete company to do it. That's bad. The fence behind my house, we needed to put up a new fence. I'm hoping that fence stands 3 years from now, because all I could file was the Chuck in the truck guy.
Yeah.
And I got 3 estimates, and I went with the guy in the middle thinking, okay, well, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see if he shows up.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if he was going to show up. He showed up a day early. I'm like, oh, okay. So I've always thought, my gosh, this is before I even got into this business. There's opportunity and then the franchise model just works. Like you saw it before many people saw it. So
there is, there is so much opportunity in home services. Yes. We're talking $1 trillion industry. It's an industry that has what I call tailwinds. People don't want to fix their house, yet it's their largest asset.
That's right.
And the younger generation moving up into higher incomes have less and less abilities to fix their house. They don't even know how to. You don't want to fix your house, and other people don't know how to. You probably know how to fix different things in your home, but you'd rather make the phone call.
That's right.
And so it's driving the entire industry in a time when AI is transforming other industries. Someone still has to do the work.
It's making it more essential. And then those people who can communicate effectively just win the game.
And people want to use a brand. They
Yeah.
want to know so you just mentioned you hired a Chuck in the truck. You weren't sure if they'd show up. That came from probably some experience you had in the past where you've hired somebody and they didn't show up
That's
or
true.
they didn't do good work. And I think we can all agree that we've had a bad experience with someone out there in home services that doesn't answer their phone, doesn't finish the job, changes the bill on you when they give you an estimate and increase the bill. Like there's endless bad experiences, which is why I love the industry.
So talk about some of the other services, that you all provide on the back end to somebody considering one of your brands. And what other brands? You mentioned 5-Star Bath Solutions. What are some of the other brands in other areas that you all serve?
Yeah. So 5-Star Bath Solutions does bathroom remodeling. It's 1-2 day bath projects. Average job size jobs around, $12,000-$13,000. Depends on your area and so forth. Then we've got a business called Mosquito Shield, which is mosquito control and recurring service model. We help kill the bugs in your backyard so you can enjoy your backyard. Then we've got a business called Gotcha Covered Blinds, which does all your windows and wall coverings, and been around for decades. It's a great business model based out of Denver. We have a 1-800 Packouts and 1-800 Textiles models. They're two separate businesses, both in the restoration business. One cleans the textiles, so think clothing, carpets, that kind of thing. And the other one packs out all your personal belongings while a restoration company comes in and fixes it. So we work a lot with contractors and insurance companies to make sure your contents are stored and safe while the work's getting done. And then lastly, we have a company called BioOne, which is a very unique business. It handles all kinds of bio cleanup projects. So you can think hoarding. If someone dies, our company comes in and cleans the premises after a death.
Okay.
It can be dealing with drug rehab. So think meth, other stuff like that. That business model is very, very unique, and it pays extremely well because of its uniqueness. We have 140, 50 franchisees approximately in that business. So all told, the 5-Star Franchising Brands has over 900 territories all across Canada and the United States. But at the central core of 5-Star Franchising, what makes us unique as a platform company is we have a shared services model. We own ProNexus, so all your calls are answered. All your leads are followed up with.
Okay.
We schedule all, in fact, like at Mosquito Shield, we'll even close the deal on the phone on behalf of you as a franchisee and schedule them for you in the technology so that your van can move out there and take care of the customers. So the solution of ProNexus is integrated with all kinds of lead gen partners in the industry. So think about Home Advisor, Porch, Thumbtack, and others. And so we work very closely with how to make the phone ring. And when it does ring, making sure it's answered perfectly. And we own that business. It's really an incredible solution. In addition to that, we have an inside marketing agency. So you can use our internal agency to do your PPC campaigns, your social media campaigns, or you can hire one of our vendors that are out there. We've got several vendor partners that exist, but we do have our own internal marketing agency, which is also unique about our business. And then, we also have other support systems that become really valuable. And I think you can appreciate this. When we buy a business, it always comes with a CEO or a brand president or a founder. And before being bought by 5-Star Franchising, that CEO had to worry about all their accounting, all their legal, franchise development, their technology, their marketing, their the customer experience. Every single one of these disciplines, they had to handle themselves as a brand president. So they had to wear all the hats, including operations of how to actually do the business. When we acquire a business, we say, all those responsibilities we're going to take from you. We've got the aces in their places, the CMOs, the CTOs, the chief legal officer, the chief development officer. They all sit on top of these pillars of services. And you, Mr. Brand President or founder, can focus entirely on operational excellence.
Wow.
So now all your energy isn't about doing your accounting and your books and making sure everything balances. All your energy is around how do I get them open faster, better, stronger.
Wow.
And that just allows the power of focus. And if you've ever been in business, you know that there's just so many distractions. There's so many priorities that keep popping up. And if I can minimize all that noise, it allows a brand presence to stay focused on the things that the franchisee needs. And so it's been very powerful. And one other thing that's been really exciting is we have something called vendor partnerships. It's called the 5-Star Buying Group.
Okay.
We purchase almost $80 million of services on behalf of all our franchisees.
Wow.
And that means when we go negotiate pricing, we're negotiating on behalf of all 900 locations, not just 50 or 100. That allows for us to get better pricing and better deals on ultimately for our franchise partners.
And that's the value you get as a franchisee. You get those deep discounts, which lowers your cost of goods. Of course,
that's it.
It all makes sense.
Yeah, you've nailed it. That's right.
It all makes sense. What is your vision for the business going forward?
So we're actively acquiring home service brands, and we'll hopefully buy 2 or 3 more in the next 12 months. The vision really comes from there's a few things that we think about in our business. First of all, we as an organization want to achieve $1 billion in system-wide sales. Today we do close to $300 million. Our objective is ultimately to help our owners double their business every 2 years. So it's how do I help them grow their business, and how do I bring in new franchisees and help them double their business every 2 years? We call it double. It means that they need to grow a little over 41% every year.
Wow.
And for us, that is like, I would say, our obsession. How do we help our franchise partners be more successful with us than they could ever be on their own? And it's we take great joy and satisfaction in seeing people achieve great results. And each brand, there are amazing stories of success that we were so excited about that we get to be part of.
Do you have franchisees that have go across the different brands? They have multiple brands in your system?
We never buy a brand with that as a motive. So I don't ever buy a brand thinking, oh, great, we can sell this to other franchisees. And we don't ever promote it. But for the very first time in September of this year, we had our annual convention. We call it the Home Services Summit.
Okay.
All of our brands came to the event. And they met all the other brands and all the other franchisees. And from that event, a few people bought franchises from the other concepts.
Okay.
It's we're careful because, once again, the power of focus, right?
Right.
We want to make sure that owners are developing their business to its fullest potential. But in the right case and instances, when someone is the right owner, it happens.
Yeah. Well, you got the systems would be all the same on the back end, would it? Yeah.
Yeah, they all can leverage ProNexus.
That's where I was going with that. Yeah. Okay. That's where my mind was. Because as you're talking about growing at 41%, is it 41%? You said
41.7% growth rate per year is our vision. Now, not everyone achieves that, right?
Sure.
Well, it is very possible that results may vary, right?
Okay.
And we have an item 19 in every brand. Every candidate can look into and see exactly the performance that each brand has.
Okay.
But there are certainly many owners that are in excess of that at all of our brands.
Well, you've given the listeners certainly a lot to think about is the approach to considering a franchise. What would be your guidance for someone to reach their full potential so they can actually see the possibilities of what they can do in franchise? Because you saw the possibilities at a young age and you were able to realize and create this incredible business. For somebody who's leaving their corporate position, or maybe a veteran who's considering looking at franchising, what is that piece of advice that guidance that you provide?
It's having worked for corporate America for a few years and having known what it's like to have resources available to you that are very needed to do your job properly. I can understand why any individual looking to buy a business wants to know that ultimately the business they're buying has that backbench and that bench strength.
Yep.
It's not just 5 or 6 people that are running the business that they're buying it from, but there's a lot of people behind the brand supporting it. And I'm speaking to what 5-Star's done, right? So I'm a little slanted in terms of where I'd encourage people to look. If you're going to buy a brand that is backed by something larger than just 10 employees, right? You want to buy a brand that's got a very large bench. And the way I look at it is like, first of all, home services is we have very compelling arguments as to why you should be looking at home services. Your investment range is $100,000 to $150,000. It's a matter of like a third to what many storefront concepts cost or fast service concepts cost. Without a lease, you have to worry about 5 or 10 year leases, no big build outs. You buy a van or a truck and you're in business. In the speed to launch in some of our brands is a month.
Wow.
Other brands, it may take 3 or 4 months, depending on which concept you're purchasing. So you can get to go to market quicker. And you're not concerned about fads or like, how does a consumer change around your service or your product or maybe you're the food type. The reality is everyone has a home and everyone needs our services. And the demand's only growing. So which is why I love home services in general. And the very compelling argument I make around franchising is, if you're working someplace before, your percentage of the revenue might have been 0.1% if you're lucky in terms of what you got paid to the business's revenue, right? And that's if you were very lucky. In many cases, you're decimal points. In franchising, you're 94%, 93%, 95%, depending on the concept of the revenue goes to you.
Right.
And yet you still have this big bench of support behind you that is there to help you be successful in every discipline like I've talked about. And you're paying a fraction of the cost. If you were to start up a business right now today and try and do any one of our concepts, you couldn't afford to go hire a CMO, a CTO, a COO, and a trainer, and a vendor manager, and accounting support. You couldn't get all that for what you'd be paying in royalties. And so it is so slanted in the favor of someone starting a business from the very beginning. And as they grow, they can lean on that expertise. So it is, I love the model. It unlocks the entrepreneurial spirit in America that exists here. And I love being a part of that and seeing people really find success in it.
I love that. And the two things I'd take away from what you just said is, one, you take away a lot of risk. The franchise model takes away a lot of risk from somebody considering a business. It helps them, their odds of success are a whole lot greater coming in with that deep bench. And then you tapped into the operative word is need. It's a need, not necessarily a want that you're addressing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that.
Well, this is a perfect place to button it up. I'm going to make the call to action here, folks. If you're interested in one of the brands that Scott just spoke about, I'm working with Scott and his team. Get in touch with me. Visit yourfirstfranchise.com. Hit the contact us button, and I'll be in touch with you immediately. And Scott, I want to thank you for your time. Man, y'all going to just keep growing. I love the approach that you all have and the mindset you have towards the business and the vision you have for this business going forward.
Well, thank you for having me on here, and great experience. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. And that is a wrap with Scott. And what a journey from flipping burgers at McDonald's to having his own franchise system with over 900 locations. And that's only possible because the space has so much opportunity. There's so much demand for good quality service in the home services sector that franchising shines in this space. Go back to when you tried to hire somebody. Think about that. That opening comment for the intro of the show. I tried to find the person to fix my fence. I tried to find the person to fix my driveway. Not easy. Go try to find a painter for your house. All these different home services are challenging. And that's where your opportunity may lie if you want to be in a business where you can grow and scale at a very significant level. Check out yourfirstfranchise.com, yourfirstfranchise.com. Hit the contact button, and I'll be in touch with you immediately. Now, you know the drill. Be intentional. Make tonight, because we're doing this at nighttime, a great night. All right. Take care. Bye.